We saw NA take a crack at Heimer bot and Smite mids. We'll see what else these teams have up their sleeves in our matches today. Golden Guardians coming into the studios hoping to tie their spring split win record by taking down the first place team in the process. We'll see if they can do that versus Aftermoon and 100 Thieves, who are in first place, hoping to extend their 5-game winning streak to 6. Welcome to the NA LCS Countdown, where for 30 minutes we chat with the head of the league and rank North America's Vladimirs until the timer reaches 0 and we jump into Champion Select. Mark, as a caster, I respect you being here quite a lot. I realize that Dash, not important enough for an on-camera death. He's been Admiral Akbar in this one. Also notice the very small amount of dirt from his very small stature. That shouldn't surprise anyone.
I'm surprised you're back so fast. You died like yesterday?
Yeah, we bumped the death timers. I'm like level 1.
Back.
Yeah, in there. Not a lot of XP on me. Chat, how you doing?
Waiting for Dash to return. That's really all it is.
How much longer we got?
Yeah, I don't know,
Another
man.
week, maybe?
It's hard already, Freak.
I've already been insulted. This is beautiful. By pulling up the standings, we see that while a record of 4-3 puts a team in third place, it also means they are only a single win away from first. However, one more loss would drop them to 6th place alongside Clutch Gaming, FlyQuest, and Golden Guardian. So a lot of movement, of course, still available in the standings in the middle of the 4th week. I want to take a look at, though, the logjam at third place. Those 3 teams all very much in the mix.
Yeah, and I think the most surprising team to see up there is CLG at 4-3 after the way they played the beginning of the spring split. Their early game has been immaculate. They've gotten first blood in every single game. Also with Darshan and Rainover, so I liked what you said yesterday, Freak, about warning to Licorice today that maybe they're going to be coming for him early, because you're wondering how long they can keep that early game up. But even with that, they're still only sitting at 4-3, so that means there are some question marks in the late game for CLG.
That said, they are facing Cloud9 and Golden Guardians, 2 teams who are below them in the standings. So if they're able to continue to find these wins, they will actually end up with a very good record over the first half of this summer split here. And that's a huge improvement from where they were at the first half of last split, when in spring they were like 1-7 or whatever it was.
Yeah, it was real bad.
Yeah, projected 6-3 if win-losses predict the next 2 results of games. Talk to me about the other teams, though, at this third place tie that you care about.
Yeah, while CLG looks much better than spring split, not the case for EchoFox, who actually feel like they're kind of trending downwards, and mostly due to Huni. He is kind of the superstar on that team that everyone talks about. He's the face of the team. They kind of adopt his playstyle. When he's not doing well, of course they're going to be struggling. And if you look at Huni's scores over the last couple games, they're pretty dismal. 0-6-2 Mundo, 1-5-5 Rumble, 1-4 Yasuo. It's not pretty.
Yeah, and they've been putting in Demonte instead of Phoenix. The bottom lane still doesn't necessarily have those carry performances. Dardoch seems like he's looking good, but you need more than one player on your team looking good to be able to find wins.
And on top of the strength of schedule, they have 2 tough opponents coming up, and both of them very good at facing late game. And if the early game struggles for EchoFox are not working out for them and they go late versus TSM and 100 Thieves, you're probably going to lose those games.
Yeah, unless TSM still looks a little bit shaky trying new things. It's sometimes been a bit slow for them to adapt. We'll see what that looks like. One more team to talk about, though, is TSM themselves, of course, in that third place tie.
Exactly, and if you go back to last year, you'd be super surprised to see TSM kind of middling around 500 for the season at 4-3, and their games have also not looked that good. They are trying some new things. Yesterday, we got to see Sven's Heimerdinger bottom lane take the turret very early. We got to see Bjergsen on Smite to Leah, and them picking 3 winning lanes. But then they got about a 1 to 2,000 goal lead and didn't do anything after that. So that was a reminder of why TSM doesn't pick winning lanes, because they're still not very proactive. They're working towards that direction, but their games have been pretty rough.
Yeah, especially considering that loss was to the 100 Thieves roster that had just shaken up things. They had taken down Meteos for Onda, which you would expect to be a downgrade on paper, yet they took down TSM. So that's going to be a fun one to watch for. One more team we want to talk about that we're used to bringing up in this high-end context is Cloud9. Right now, they're in 9th place, which is not really where many people expected them.
Yeah, but Sneaky's back.
That's true.
Got the win. Yeah, undefeated
His
Sneaky.
Morgana was sick.
Yeah, it was great. Anyways, they said that they could only have 3 more losses in their mind and before they can't make playoffs, which is a pretty tough bar to set for themselves, but you know, a pretty realistic look at their current situation, which is pretty dire.
Yeah, and honestly, the team has found success before. They went 8-1 in the first half of spring split, so it's not unthinkable that they could somehow go 8-1 in the second half of the season, but they do have to find their place on the stage. They're completely switched out their roster pretty much every single week. It's a different set of players, so the synergy is lacking. And their drafts are different than the rest of the league. They're picking fairly low damage, sometimes not even all winning lanes. So it's very weird watching C9 right now, but the talent is still there. You can see it. They're up early game almost every single game. It's just a matter of closing out victories.
Yeah, and right now they're 4/5 of the old LCS roster, plus Zeyzal, who was actually super sick yesterday as well. I think people were saying he's definitely LCS ready, and we're seeing it now for sure. C9 now picking up some wins, so we'll see if that keeps going. Now, you heard a couple of those upcoming matchups, so now let's take a look at where they will place within the schedule overall, presented by Jersey Mike's Subs. Up first, Golden Guardians will face 100 Thieves, followed by FlyQuest versus Team Liquid, and then TSM versus Echo Fox for Game 3. A reminder that ordering a sub above could guarantee you in-game rewards. Order online at jerseymikes.com with the promo code JMNALCS to nab yourself a Hextech chest with key and exclusive skins, plus a chance to win an all-expenses-paid trip to the summer final later this year. With Game 1 on the horizon, Coach Prawley is hoping focused and critical practice will allow 100 Thieves to maintain first place.
Golden Guardians are pretty unique because they'll have like flashes of brilliance. Specifically like Mickey, he's a bit of an inconsistent player. So I think being able to deal with this inconsistent player with like this new roster is going to be a bit difficult for us. So I'm excited to see our preparation kind of going into this match. Right now we're just kind of analyzing what we're doing and being specifically really hard on ourselves to kind of push our boundaries to, I guess, like do what we're doing right now, but in a better way. So we're right now just searching for like the next level of play, next level of macro that we can, perform.
And actually, like, I'm pretty keen on 100 Thieves right now watching their game yesterday. Someday back on the roster, he still looks like potentially the single best player in the continent of North America right now. Someday's been popping off. Onda, when he was climbing Korean Challenger, when he was kind of sitting on the bench with, I think it was Immortals, or he got really high in solo queue, mostly from camping top. And I think that kind of continuing can work very well for them. So I do have high hopes for 100 Thieves could go.
Does seem to combo well with the Korean top laners. It was Flame who was super excited to play with Onda back in that time when he was climbing. And, they got split up off FlyQuest now that he's here, but he had a really good game, being able to mesh with that style of funneling that it feels like 100 Thieves like to go for right now.
Yeah, of course, funneling eventually going away, but that's okay. Now, we can talk about Golden Guardians as well. Their opponent in this very first match, Coach Tyler, is excited to test himself against the first place team.
There's actually a lot of teams around us right now, and it's a fight to see who can break through to get pushed towards playoffs. One of the things that I feel like we can work on for ourselves is focusing on our own image and how we want to play as a team and use that as our strength. Like, I feel like teams might, in this meta, try to diversify what they're playing to better match up against their opponents, and that might weaken their overall draft strength or like their overall matchups against other teams, where I think what we should focus on is just focusing on ourselves and focusing on what we're good at and then move from there. Yeah, 100's looking really strong, actually. At Rift Rivals, I know they say that like they went there to just get some like match practice and not necessarily were focusing on the winning or playing their best strategies. And so I'm really looking forward to testing our strength against them today. We beat Clutch yesterday, which is really good, and I think that Clutch is a really good team as well. So I'm really looking forward to see how we match up against one of the top teams. Rift Rivals, we got to see a lot of what 100 Thieves were prioritizing with their team. It could be different since they played with a different roster in Rift Rivals. However, I think it still reflects a little bit on like what they'll probably play today and like ideas of what they think is strong and how they want to utilize it. So it was definitely good scouting information, and at minimum, it was good that we got extra practice and they had to be at an international event.
Yeah, and I like what Tyler said at the start there about focusing on Golden Guardians' own game, because I think in the off week, they probably brought more new stuff to week 4 than any other team. I really liked the Jhin Soraka lane they played bottom. Definitely had been spamming about 20 Jhin games and hoped to throw off the opponent, and then they just left it up, so he played it and smashed. And I like what they brought as well with the Talon from Mickey.
Yeah, that was really good.
Really fit his play style very well, so I'm excited to see what we get from Golden Guardians today.
Nikki on self-funnel split pusher was a really good strat for them. We'll see if it comes out today as well. Now, to hear their thoughts on that matchup just a few minutes away, let's send it over to the casters for Game 1. Pastry Time and Zyrene.
Thank you, Freak. And going into this matchup, we've got two teams that seem to have really found their stride as they approach the midway point of the split, Zyrene.
Yeah, and for Golden Guardians in particular, Mickey, we finally saw a big carry performance from him. And this is what the team was talking about when they picked him up, when they were placed high. They wanted somebody who could mechanically outshine other mid laners and control the map, and that's Mickey, and we finally got to see it on stage. And picking up a win here for Golden Guardians, if they're able to close this out and get a 2-0 on the weekend, it would be their first ever 2-0 weekend in the history of the organization, and it would mean that they've tied their 4 wins from last split. only in week 4.
Can certainly only get better. Unfortunately, Golden Guardians need to look for that win off a first-place team, 100 Thieves, on a 5-game win streak.
I mean, they have done it before, but 100 Thieves, we're seeing that now, despite a new jungler in the lineup, they have a working formula. Someday has been a monster on the top lane. We also had Ryu on the bot lane mages, and then they're funneling Cody as that winning strategy. But now with Onda alongside the funnel of Cody, it means Aphromoo gets to bring some presence in the lane and play bottom lane instead of having to babysit Cody during the lane phase.
And I like that a lot. 100 Thieves just using their players kind of intelligently and putting their pieces in the spots you'd expect. Like, if you want to play mages, get your mid laner there, right? Get the guy that knows how to play bottom lane in Aphromoo.
Yeah, and that's what I love about it is they aren't just going, this is the best draft. They're swapping people around for where the champions that they play should end up in this meta. The Vladimir bottom makes a ton of sense. Funneling a Xayah or a marksman and having Cody play that, who was the late game carry for them back in spring, and everybody supporting him, it seems like a winning formula for them. I actually think the meta is very, very well suited to the strengths of 100 Thieves.
Well, that's what we're looking for in Game 1. Until then, it's back to you, Freak.
Thank you very much. Now, earlier in the week, the discussion around NA solo queue and how it prevents pros from succeeding internationally popped back up. To give us his thoughts on this conversation, I want to hand it down to Mark Z for this edition of the Flame Game.
Thank you very much, Freak. Now, let me start this out by saying this conversation around better practice can be more complex than I can fit into a 2-minute segment, but the deflection of blame to NA, Ping, and solo queue has become pretty ridiculous. So what am I talking about? To go all the way back, for those out of the loop, in 2015, Riot moved their servers from Portland to Chicago, which resulted in an increased ping for West Coast players. This also sparked about the fact that we're a for-fun region and all those things people love memeing about NA solo queue. Now, don't let that distract you from the fact that we never made it out of quarters before 2015 either, because, hey, we got a new scapegoat, the ping's bad. So with that, people tried to start a conversation on how to fix that. They talked about potential in-houses on the Tournament Realms server. That is a low ping server that all pro teams have access to, and that is where they currently scrim. In-houses were kind of unplanned, not quite scrim environment, pickup games effectively that people were trying to push. Now, that never got off the ground when I tried to do it in 2015, and a couple other people have always tried to revitalize it. Never happens. And the number one reason that people give for why in-houses never get off the ground is because they're not allowed to stream it. It's a private server that Riot doesn't want to have people see quite publicly facing yet. So that is why I was always not getting off the ground. Then EU pros came over in Rift Rivals. They got to experience the NA solo queue. They said, yeah, this kind of sucks, which re-sparked the conversation in the last week and why people are talking about it. And once again, streaming was highlighted as a reason that they did not want to be able to do this. So what I wanted to do was take a look at specifically how much streaming would potentially impact that. So I went on Twitch TV and I looked up every pro player's streaming account that I could possibly find over the last 30 days and how many times they stream. Now, these are the most frequent ones. We got Bjergsen at 5, Doublelift at 9, Sneaky at 24, Afro at 24, and I added all of them up that I went through. I went through thousands of accounts who streamed League of Legends, and I looked for all the pro ones. I probably missed a couple, to be fair, but there were also some streams that counted as doubles whenever someone DC'd and reconnected to Twitch. That counted as 2 streams. So, if we assume that every time a pro stream, it conflicted with a potential in-house, here is the worst case scenario. That would have been 145 times over the last 30 days that a pro player would be conflicted with an in-house. If you divide that by 30 days, that means on average, 5 players would be busy a day streaming instead of playing in-houses. Now, there's 10 teams in the league, each with 5 players. They also have academy teams. That means 100 people have access. So 5 people are busy. 95 other people could be doing in-houses, and you're going to tell me streaming is a problem? You all have the exact same schedule. You're scrimming each other. You have access to this low ping environment already. Don't tell me the problem is streaming. That's what I keep hearing about. And Bjergsen himself also said, he tried to organize this in 2016 and it didn't get off the ground. This is Bjergsen, who had some of the highest concurrent viewers, willing to give that up in order to get a better practice environment. And the problem was players are too lazy. There's no other buts you need. You don't need to talk about streaming. It's strictly the fact that people don't want to figure it out. It's too much work on the players. They can't click play and instantly get queued up on their own. But this isn't any more complicated than pickup basketball. And all over the world, people have been able to figure that one out. If pro players can't figure out how to do pickup League of Legends, they probably can't figure out how to win a world championship either. That's my take on the NA ping. For more NA LCS Countdown, stay tuned. We're coming back after a break.
Welcome back to the NA LCS Countdown. We are just a few minutes away from Champion Select for Game 1. A quick reminder that tickets are on sale for the Summer Finals at the Oracle Arena. Be sure to pick up your set to join us in Oakland September 8th and 9th as we crown the #1 seed going into Worlds from North America. Now you're seeing some of our promotional art on the back wall when the graphic does change. It's beautiful, it's amazing, a bunch of marquee players and some of their favorite champions up in this one. Going to be exciting. Now I would love, of course, after we watch all that beautiful stuff, like to welcome the NA LCS Commissioner Christopher Greeley to the desk. We're going to interview him and ask him all the tough questions, of course.
Did you select this music yourself?
Yeah, I did. Personal selection.
Superhero music.
Yeah. I wanted the Hulk Hogan entrance music, but they said that wasn't an option.
Storming out WWE style.
Yeah, beautiful stuff. So, of course, there's a lot more to the NA LCS than meets the eye. There's plenty of going on here. We opened up the audience to our conversation. They've got plenty of questions, but I wanted to ask one real quick. Explain to me what it is that the commissioner of the league does and maybe doesn't do.
Sure. So I run the day-to-day operations of the NA LCS. So that's schedules, rosters, dealing with teams, writing the rules, enforcing the rules. And I get to do a lot of other cool stuff with our team. We work on special projects, try to move things along, keep the league constantly growing. Stuff I don't do, right? I don't work on champ balance, don't work on patch cadence across the street. I don't decide where Worlds is going, don't decide when we announce that stuff. So anything that has to do with the NALCS and rules and rosters and making sure that our teams show up every week and play, that's me.
Well, speaking of rules and rosters, actually, news came out yesterday that Huhi got his green card. And so I kind of want to ask, how is it that NA pros can become non-imports?
Yeah, so well, we've got the IMP, the Inter-Regional Movement Policy, which keeps NA teams or any team in the world from importing more than 2 players for their starting roster. We changed that policy in 2016. It moved we call it the grandfather period. It used to be 2 years. We moved it out to 4. So there are guys like Bjergsen who are already grandfathered in. They count as an NA resident. There are 3 players in spring of 2019 who will become residents as long as they play more than 50% of the games this split. So that's Phoenix, Piglet, and Impact. And then in summer, Jensen, as long as he does all the games he needs to do, he'll also qualify as an NA resident. Past that, there's a pretty small list of guys who can become NA residents just by playing games and being on a team in North America. And then the only other way in is to become either a permanent resident or a citizen of the US. So as of Monday morning, when our rosters unlock for the week, we will change Huhi's designation to a resident.
That's really cool. There's another question as well from Rapgod Mata. He asked, do you happen to know how or why they allow 6 players per team in international events? And I know the context of this as well is we have academy rosters. On any given week, you can play any of like the 10 champions in North America. But for playoffs, we lock at 6, and internationally, we lock at 6. Why is that?
So in the NALCS, we lock at 6 because international rosters lock at 6, which is a little bit of a cop-out answer, and I'll answer the actual question. But we don't want NA teams to go in with a strategy where they have 7 players or 8 players. They go through playoffs, and they win, and they go to Worlds, and they have to pare down to 6, and all of a sudden they're not competitive internationally anymore. From an international perspective, the 6-player rule is kind of a legacy of the way we've done things the last couple of years. Logistically, moving up to 7 players is difficult. You'd think adding 1 player is just simply adding 1 player, but when you add an additional person, kind of all the vans have to get bigger that we move players around in. We need extra facilities, extra computers on site. Like, we want the pro experience when they go to international events to be really good, and it jumps exponentially with the 7th player. With that aside, it also does give an advantage to some international regions, right? Korea, China, now NA, all have deeper rosters than a lot of emerging regions, like OPL or Turkey or CBLOL. So you don't want to kind of increase that inherent advantage by telling people, like, bring as many great players as you want and swap them in and out. It helps those regions hopefully continue to build talent and stay competitive internationally. And it may change at some point in the future, right? I mean, all things are on the table.
Okay, well, thanks for the explanation on that one. We have time for one more question, which is from It's Freaking Harry, and he wonders, what kind of unexpected impacts has franchising had for the NALCS?
I think that we had, last year, we still have a great team, but we have a great team in the NALCS. I think that we were kind of pushing things along as best we could last year. I think we were hitting all of our marks. We were really happy with where the league was. We brought in a lot of we brought in our 10 teams. We had 4 new teams. Some of the existing teams went out and brought in large investors. So we had a lot more sophisticated owners sitting around the table who were asking a lot of questions that we had asked ourselves in the past, but they were asking it with a view towards, like, let's get this done right now. So I think franchising is certainly accelerated from an internal point of view, kind of the projects that we're looking to push and the league that we're looking to build out. And, our hope and expectation is that, 2018 looks totally different than 2017. We think 2019 will look totally different than 2018. And the goal is always to be better and bigger and do more cool stuff.
Cool. Well, thank you very much. Hopefully, we keep seeing that progress forward for the NALCS. Once again, Christopher Greeley, thank you so much for your time here today. And he's up on Twitter at @IamGurza, I believe.
Yeah, that's right.
You. So you can ask him more things. Now, speaking of NALCS, Vladimir has become a staple in North America. So Jat down there is going to give us a rundown on how to best execute on League's Sangromancer.
All right, so yesterday we did Heimerdinger. This one's not going to be quite as in-depth because I mainly want to talk about the Vladimir combos and what to look for when you're judging these pro Vladimirs. So very quickly, as I kind of catch my bearings, a lot of times when Vlad does a combo, it just looks like he kind of presses all his buttons at once. But I want to kind of go over exactly how Vladimir works. So his E, you can charge for up to 1.5 seconds, and it does its maximum damage after 1. The thing with his E, though, is you can pool during it and release it later. And also, if you cast another spell while E is channeling, the other spell will cast, but then the E will pop. You can't hold it past then. So you're holding your E, and if I press Q, the E will actually auto-cast no matter how much I hold it down. Now, there's also a few weird protobelt interactions with it. If you're pressing E, you can't protobelt. You'll notice it's gone down. But you can actually protobelt while you're in pool. So, therefore, there's a few things. The ultimate does a 10% damage amp. So in any combo, you want the ultimate to land first. You also want the combo to come out as quickly as possible. So what a perfect Vlad combo would be, so to speak, is you actually channel your E, then while still holding your E, you flash, you press R, which automatically cancels your E, you Q before your pool, and then you go in to your blood pool and theoretically protobelt if you have that. So you got to do that really fast. You practice it a few times, you charge your E, flash R, Q, W, and you protobelt. And then after that, your E is back off cooldown, and you can get your empowered Q, which actually does a whole bunch more damage. So that's one thing that is easy to do in practice tool, but is very hard to do in game situations, and you definitely have to know the order of the combo. So from there, that's kind of what we do for Vlad.
Yep.
You look for what he does. Some pros get it. Ryu did it really well last week.
Yeah.
Altec had a few whoopsies earlier on, and that's it.
Yeah, so beautiful stuff. I actually really enjoy the fact that we're getting these sort of high-skill look-ins. Jat, you're the highest-rated person on the NLS desk, so I'm pretty sure that you're the one
That's
coming
why
through.
I get to do all those things.
Yeah, if I make Diamond 3, though, I'm taking over. All right, I'm just letting you know, but that's going to require me getting a better player. Let's talk about the fact that the NALCS is just a couple minutes away from starting for our first match, so I want to get win conditions for Game 1. Golden Guardians taking on 100 Thieves. Before the season, it was 10 versus 2, now a little bit closer.
Yeah, and I think for the Golden Guardians, their win condition is to make 100 Thieves funneling as difficult as possible. It seems like the main strategy that they like to run, so I think they're going to go for it even if they don't have the best champions available. So don't give them Zyricon, don't give the Braum Kai'Sa. You only have to spend 2 of your bans to prevent that. Hope they go for it anyway, and then play some of your other strategies. We got to see a huge camp bottom lane with Kindred in the game they played yesterday. It frees you up to gank your side lanes if 100 Thieves ends up going for that. So that's what I want to see them do.
Yeah, for me, 100 Thieves, it's kind of the same, but on the flip side, I want to see them ban Talent or Kindred. Since they're on red side and Nocturne Aatrox are basically permabans, you can only pick one of those two. So pick whichever one seems more disruptive to you. If it's the Kindred, because she can get all those bounties off and get dives off, and as you heard Contract saying, is maybe the most OP jungler in the game right now, take that out. If it's the Talon, because you don't like the roaming and the push that it gives even against the funnel, then take that one out. And then continue the funnel. They're really good at it. If they do span all their bans, trying to stop you from funneling, don't opt into a bad funnel. We saw Optic try that, did not work out very well.
Yeah.
But otherwise, go for it. It's what's working best for them by far during this win streak.
All right, we'll see if that one turns up. Let's look at the predictions for this day, though, and which bets you're placing on which teams.
What you doing, Mark?
As champs like
We'll see.
a
I bet we're
minute
the same.
and
What you
15
doing?
away. And
I knew it.
This is exciting.
Wait.
TSM over Echo Fox is a bit interesting. Jat is, we got CLG versus Cloud9. They're
You got
close to the
one
same.
wrong on there?
Well, I'm pretty sure I predicted Cloud9. We'll have to double check on that.
All right.
I hope I didn't type it wrong. I mean
Oh,
to
wait, yeah,
predict Cloud9.
Okay, so you guys
So
are
you
all
predicted
I think
COG.
COG. I think it's backwards. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. So Jat on the left, Mark on the right. Oh!
Hey!
You guys are
Chickerini.
incredible. I predict that our graphics team is still the best in the NALCS because how could they not be? But either way, talk to me about CLG versus C9 difference.
It's a really dicey one for me. If I've made a bet, the C9's making playoffs. If they're going to do it, they have to be able to win games like this one against COG.
Yep.
They're consistently really good early game. They're the 2 best early game teams we have, and I'm hoping with Sneaky back in the roster, their late game is a little bit more consistent, and they'll be able to take down COG.
Mark, you don't get time, unfortunately. Champ's like ready to go, so casters, please take it away. We're excited to watch.
Thank you, Freak.
Can't believe we brought him back.
That's true. Something about the rest time is here.
Yeah, I mean, it means he's low level, but we'll see what happens to him in the future.
I'm excited to see what happens in this draft. That's for sure. 5 seconds away. 100 Thieves versus Golden Guardians to finish these teams' weekends. It's been a pretty good look so far.